So, good afternoon. My name is Ron Shorter, and this is MICHELE Platiis, the director of Rio Grande Academy of Fine Arts. So, what inspired you to pursue a career in education? And how did that journey lead to founding the Rio Grande Academy of Fine Arts?
So actually, I fought getting into education. I always was told I would be a good teacher, and I think that made me kind of mad at first. So I actually fought it, but I always found myself in teaching positions, even though it wasn't in a traditional setting. And when my children were in school, I was always in the classroom. And so I kept being told, you need to go back to school to become a teacher. And so finally, one of those times I said, okay. And so that led to a long-term sub-position and then led to me getting my alt license so I could be a teacher. And as soon as I got into the classroom, I had always had this vision of like an arts something school. I didn't know if it was communities, like a community center or what. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had access to the arts. And when I discovered charter schools, because my kids were there, I was like, oh, this could be a school. And so that's how I developed this idea for Rio GAFA, as we call it.
That's really cool. It's really cool. Just so everybody is clear, what exactly is the difference between charter school and public school?
Yeah, so they're both public schools. The difference is that a charter school gets to have a mission that's slightly different. And so our mission is driven by our charter. And so we wrote a charter that has to be approved in New Mexico, either by a school district or through the state, which is the Public Education Commission. And so we're through the state, and then in that charter, we write what the program is. And so we have a lot more autonomy when it comes to how students learn and what they learn. We still have to follow all state statutes and standards, but we get more autonomy. And the other difference is that the leaders of the school, so my co-director and I, we also act as the superintendent. So we have multiple roles that you wouldn't see in a district where it's more layered in that way.
Okay. So before we created Rio GAFA, what experiences in other schools or classrooms made you realize a new kind of learning environment was needed?
Yeah, I started, I actually babysat a lot, and I always taught kids art when I babysat, but then I started working at a children's museum, and I taught there. I taught in my home, I taught in churches, I taught all of my friends' kids art, and we used to switch. If they knew music, they would teach my kids music and I would teach them art. And so in that, just knowing we didn't have the means to be able to take our kids to lessons, and so we found ways for kids to learn. And then I also had my own kids who, I like to say, including myself, were a square peg round hole. I needed something different. My kids needed something different. And so as I started to explore these different ideas, I realized that there are opportunities for kids to learn through the arts.
Oh, awesome. So how did the idea for blending fine arts with rigorous academics first take change personally for you?
It was in the classroom. It came very naturally for me to teach art in the classroom and teach through art. I think that's because that's how I learn. And so I just would develop these ideas of, we can learn counting. It's October, let's get a pumpkin and we'll carve it and we'll count the seeds, but then we'll also do all these other activities that were art related on building on science and art. And math and art. And so the kids loved that. And then when I went into 5th grade, kids were really struggling with math. And so I took that to, if we were doing geometry, we would create environments using the standards for geometry. And kids who hated math were starting to love math. And I taught all of American history through song and theater. So I didn't know it was a thing. But I was doing it, and then when I started to do research, I realized that the Kennedy Center actually had a program called Arts Integration, and they had resources, and so I started diving into that more. What do I do to choose those art standards and those academic standards so that they work together?
It's really interesting. So it came naturally.
It did. It came naturally, and then I just kept building upon it and learned that it was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So the school's motto is all means all. That carries a strong message of inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly does that phrase mean to you both as an educator as well as a leader?
Thank you for asking that, because that is really important to me, that all means all. I think sometimes we tend to segregate what all means all, and I mean everything across the spectrum. I mean who you are or your family is in their economic status. It means what your race and your color of your skin is, what your culture and background, where you come from, whether it's New Mexico in the South Valley or, New York City, in Manhattan, which are very different also culturally. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your family does come from wealth. There might still be things that you need that you don't have access to. It means every single person. It doesn't matter if you have a disability or a different ability. All kids should have access to a good, high quality education as well as the arts. My brother, we know now, is autistic, but growing up they didn't have those type of diagnosis. He was diagnosed with a brain injury at birth and mentally retarded and put into a segregated class where he didn't have access to anything. And my mom had to fight tooth and nail, and I watched that happen, and it was not right. And I grew up with my mom and my grandmother. We didn't have the means to take, I wanted to take music. We couldn't afford the instruments or the lessons. So I always had pencils and drawing materials. So I was able to do that and find access on my own, but that also isn't right. Like, everybody should just have access. That's what education should be about, is giving every single student everything they need, whatever that is.
100%. So how do you ensure that the daily practices, your curriculum, instruction, programming, reflect the inclusive vision?
So we are a full inclusion school, and what that means is whether you're in special ed and have an IEP, whether you're a multilingual language learner, whether you are on grade level, every student deserves grade level work. Studies have shown us that when students have access to grade level work, they actually grow faster. And so pulling students out and not giving them access to that is a disservice to them. That doesn't mean we don't scaffold, we don't differentiate instruction, and we don't have small groups. It just means that every single kid is included in making sure they have what they need to succeed. And we've seen huge growth in our special ed population and EL population because we give them grade level work and then we scaffold. It also means a lot of training. A lot of teachers who come to us have never been in an inclusion model, and it's a challenge and it can be stressful. So we give a lot of training on what that looks like. We have ed fellows who are educational assistants learning to become teachers. In the classroom, they push in, and really it's all hands on deck. Anybody who's available to push in for interventions and helping students be able to understand the grade level work coming to them and be able to perform. And sometimes that does mean accommodations, but it never means pulling out and only giving them where they're at. And that's where we make sure that it's fully inclusive. We also are fully inclusive as far as we do these performances. We have a student who is in a wheelchair, but she performs the dances. She wanted to do it, and she performs, and she's amazing. So we make sure that every opportunity a student wants and needs, they have. Are we perfect? No, we're still working on things, but that's the goal always.
That's really cool, really cool. So what makes Real Gotha stand out from other charter schools?
So we will eventually be the only K-12 arts integrated charter school in New Mexico. So that's a really big deal to us. There is another K-8 charter school that is arts integration, but they also apply that slightly differently. So we we have that in our mission statement, but also we have the arts piece at the end of the day where local artists come into our building. And so we partner with local artists and local organizations every semester, and it looks different every semester, which is also different. And so our kids get tons of different experience from people in the community.
Oh, that's different. Can you share a moment when you witnessed the arts transforming a student's confidence or engaging in learning?
Yeah, I have a couple. I think one was after the fact. I didn't know. I do my things, and sometimes you don't know if it makes a difference or not. But in 5th grade, I had said I taught all of American history through song and through theater. We learned songs about the Constitution. We made raps. We created an environment that was supposed to feel like when they were writing, like when our founding fathers were writing the Constitution. So we did those types of things, and several years down the road, the student graduated and was in college, and the mom reached out to me on email and said that the student's teacher in college had asked the question, who knows what the first 10 amendments are to the Constitution? And he was the only one who knew, and he remembered them through the rap that we had created. So I still get goosebumps thinking about it. It was like a really special moment knowing that I made a difference, and they knew that. And gosh, you ask anybody and they don't know the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, not just 5th graders and students, right? So there's that. But then there's another moment when we've had some students who have come to us mute due to trauma, and we still encourage them to participate in everything. And we've had 2 of those students get on stage and speak. And it was quiet, but they did it. And that moment of knowing that they were able to come out of their shell, that they felt safe, even though there were hundreds of people watching them, doing it helps me know like we're doing something here.
Yes. I think as adults, we often forget that the way children learn is through things they consider fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's 100% true. Yeah.
We ignore that. What do you hope students carry with them after graduating from Red Golf?
We've been thinking a lot about that because we're trying to create like the strategic plan and looking at building the high school and what do they want. And we want kids to have a voice. We want kids to feel confident when they walk away from us, knowing that they have a place in this world and they have something to say and they can say it. And whether that means that they go to school or they find another pathway, we want to make sure that we give them all those options and they confidently walk towards that pathway. And the one thing we say all the time, bottom line, is we want to develop good people. We want them to go into the community. We want them to be a part of the community and give back to the community. We want them to share all of those things that they have learned here and done with us, and we want them to bring that out to their places.
It's beautiful. I used to tell my daughter all the time when I was raising her that my primary job is not to make you happy. My primary job is to make sure that you can be a productive member of society.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. She didn't like that response, but
oh, I know they don't.
I think it's working out.
Good. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it takes them a while to figure it out, but
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably about 28, she'll start to get there. So what's been the most rewarding part of leading a school that values creativity and equity?
I think when I walk through the halls and I hear kids talking, I hear kids laughing, and I see kids creating, and I know that that is also connected to learning, but it's also developing them as humans, is like, it gives me goosebumps still to the, I don't know that will ever change. I hope it doesn't. I love seeing that. Today is an arts focused day, and whenever we have arts focused days, there's just such a buzz in the building that is unlike any other school I've ever been at.
I could see that just coming in the building today, and I've been in the building a few times. And
Yeah.
And the kids seem to love it.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And I mean, bottom line, it does help with attendance too, right? Like our kids come to school, they want to come to school. We have parents that'll pick up their kids or try to pick up their kids early, and they'll be like, "No, Mom, I want to go finish what I'm doing." And so the parent will wait up at the front for them. So I mean, that is so meaningful to me. Like we're doing something.
Yes, that's a beautiful thing when the kid doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
So what challenges have you faced as a founder? And how have those experiences shaped your leadership style?
Yeah, lots of challenges. Creating a school from the bottom up is like creating a business, right? And they always say the first 5 years are the most volatile, and I'm in the middle of that, and I feel that. But it's about building systems, and it's about creating relationships, and we're really big on that. We build relationships with everyone who walks through this building, whether you're a community member, a student, a family member, a staff member. Like we just really think it's important to build those relationships. And so, but keeping that consistent as we grow is also a challenge. And so being there and being present all the time can sometimes be a challenge. Building systems is a challenge. We think you put it on paper and it looks so good. And then when you add, 24 people to that, you're like, we might need to tweak this. So that has been big, but for me, developing as a leader, I always believe deeply in servant leadership. There's a fine balance in that. I'm realizing as we grow, especially, is that servant leadership doesn't mean I do everything.
Right.
And it doesn't mean I give myself so completely that I don't take care of myself, which I'm very bad at. So I'm learning to delegate. And I'm learning but in delegating, learning to build up leadership capacities in our community as well, because they also need to be lifted up.
Yes. And how has Albuquerque community supported the school's mission, and how do you hope to expand that?
They have been huge. The moment we stepped on this campus, it has been an outpouring of, we're so happy that you're here. What can we do to help you? I think that's what's made our art program so successful, because we just have a pouring out of artists in the community who want to come in and share their art form. We have family members who grew up in this area who are like, what can I do to come in and share our culture? And so they've come in and shared about their tribe and their traditions, from the Azleta tribe just south of us. And so we've had different things like that. We've had people come in and share their food. It's just been an embrace. And so we work with several organizations. Working Classrooms, one of them. They've helped develop our murals that we've done with kids. They're working on a quilt right now with one of their artists. And then we also work with a charter school that's just a couple blocks up called Mark Armijo, and their students come and they help clean our grounds. They've had students from there who've been tutors for our littles. And so everybody has just embraced us in so many ways. Our first year here, we had Yellowstone show up. They brought backpacks for all the kids and then cleaned our grounds for free. So there's always somebody there knocking at our door, saying, what can I do for you? And that has been such a blessing to us.
Oh yeah, sounds like you got the community on your side.
Yes.
And what keeps you motivated as an educator, especially the hardest days?
Yeah, people. I think it goes both ways. Sometimes they are the hardest, but they're also what keeps me motivated. When we have several who come to me, and it seems like it always at the right time, and says, my kid wants to come to school and they haven't wanted to come to school in 6 years. My kid has friends and they've never had friends. My kid likes her teacher. Those things are huge, and that's what keeps me going. Hey, we got to keep going. We have to do it. But the teachers have similar stories, and just hearing those stories of what they're doing in their classroom also is like, okay, we can do this. We can keep going.
Awesome. And if you could summarize the heart of Rio Grande Academy in one word or phrase, what would that be and why?
I think I would go with the phrase, and it's kind of like it's our values. Our values are determination, dedication, and diversity. That is everything we put into everything we do. We are dedicated and determined to make this thing happen, but we also make sure our students are in everything they do. And that diversity piece, that is part of that inclusion piece. That's so important to what we do.
And what legacy do you hope your leadership leaves for both your students and fellow educators?
That is like such a hard question. I think about that more often as I get closer to retirement than I ever thought I would think about it. I hope that people see my compassion and love for everything I do, and I hope that that also motivates them to have compassion for students and a love for the profession. It's a really hard profession, and I think it's harder today than it was when I started so many years ago. I won't tell you how many. It's harder, and it gets harder all the time, but if they have that deep love and that passion for making sure students have everything they need to be successful humans in this life, then I feel like I've done my job.
Great. That's all I have. Do you have any last words for any possible fellow educators out there, future educators out there?
I guess I would say, if I'm talking to future educators, it is a hard profession, and there are tears and there are frustrations, but it's also the most rewarding to be able to grow little humans or mid-sized humans and like teach them. There's just such a reward in that, and to stop thinking about what is so hard about it and think about what is it going to mean for not just the future of these children, but the future of your community and the future of our nation, and being able to educate students the way they need to be educated.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.